This presentation includes forward-looking statements that are subject to risks and uncertainties. Actual results may differ materially as a result of various risk factors, including those described in the 10Ks, 10Qs, and 8Ks VMware files with the SEC. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jean-Pierre Brulard.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Morning. And welcome to VMworld 2016. Where will our industry be tomorrow? Where will you be tomorrow? Be tomorrow is our theme for VMworld 2016. There are important and profound questions to answer as we come together to shape our destiny. My second time on stage as General Manager EMEA, I'm very delighted to welcome you again. And for me, it's an incredible pleasure and privilege to kick off an incredible 2 days. Many of you have traveled from all over Europe and beyond. And for that, I would like to say thank you, merci, gracias, grazie, obrigado, efkaristos, toda raba, teşekkürler, shukran, spasiba, dziękuję, danke, tak. VMworld Europe will not be the success it is without your ongoing enthusiasm and participation. I also to take the opportunity to thank our global diamond sponsor, Dell EMC, HPE, Intel, NetApps, and Palo Alto. I like as well to thank our platinum sponsor. Our sponsors are really pivotal to making VMworld Europe possible, and they are a value part of our ecosystem. Thank you again, sponsor, for your support. VMworld is not just a VMware event. It's an industry event. Let's have a look at the numbers. We have roughly today 10,000 attendees here in the room, and many of the most elite technical certification, and several thousand people watching online, representing over 96 countries over the globe. We have also over 2,000 customers from VMUG, VMware User Group, and with over 120,000 members globally, VMUG connects customers, partners, employees to resources, knowledge, and networking. I strongly encourage you to visit the VMUG stand in the Solution Exchange and to become a part of the community. As well, we have 2,900 partners. And yesterday, we held our partner exchange. It was a fantastic day, fully dedicated to our partners. And I would like really to thank our partners. You are critical to our success. And together, we will continue to transform the future of our industry for tomorrow. Last but not least, we have 170 influencers both journalists and analysts. This year, I'm also delighted to welcome AirWatch Connect to Europe. As mobile and cloud come together, so do our two events, VMworld and AirWatch Connect. And for those of you who are not yet familiar with business mobility, I really invite you to join Connect and as well reimagining the work by delivering the digital workspace. Join the keynote, participate in the session, and network. Please get involved and connected. At VMware, we are also committed to building a tomorrow with inclusion and diversity. Inclusion is about tolerance and acceptance. And given what's happened in Europe over the last year, we have seen that when we didn't pay attention to that, we pay a price. We recently launched our VM Inclusion Initiative to address the importance of this for VMware, but also for the wider community. So this afternoon, I invite you to join the VM Inclusion session. We'll be keynoted by Alison E. Woodward, and we will discuss how to achieve success through the power of inclusion. Over the next 2 days, we will explore what it means to be tomorrow. You will learn from our executive and visionaries. You will have the chance to attend the 300+ sessions that we have prepared for you. You will network and talk to our partners too. And as well, you will practice in our labs. Sounds good? So great. So thank you for your attention. I wish you a fantastic partner, VMworld, and Be Tomorrow starts now.
How will tomorrow arrive? What will be tomorrow's rules? Who will set tomorrow's pace? Which way will tomorrow face? I hope it's towards us, like a sunrise, igniting us, like here comes tomorrow, amazing and delighting us. Tomorrow won't care about networks and protocols and architecture. In fact, tomorrow will probably have a serious freaking problem with authority. Tomorrow will not accept. It runs well and it does the job as a priority. Tomorrow won't be customer obsessed, won't be trying to drive customer loyalty, because tomorrow won't be about customers. It will be about people. That's us. People. We live and work and dream. We mess up, mess around, dare, smile, dance, love. We won't wait around for tomorrow to drop. So if you're standing in line for tomorrow, stop. You are tomorrow. You make this stuff. You crack the code. You sculpt the scripts that the rest of us are riffing on. You are the ones with the soulful minds, the mindful souls, and the nimble fingers that do not stop when the sun goes down. And sometimes, even when it comes back up, you are the ones changing things. 9:08, Tuesday morning. This time tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. What will be your rules? What will be your pace? Which way are you going to face?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Pat Gelsinger.
That's a great provocative question. Which way will you face? And while obvious, the answer is simple. We together will face forward. In this, the greatest period of disruption in the history of IT, it also is the greatest period of opportunity. And that's the essence of VMworld and why we come together each year. We have 10,000 gathered here together in Barcelona, and on behalf of the VMware employees, we are facing forward this week, every week, with you. We're thrilled with the innovations, the new products, the technologies, the things that we'll be discussing this year. And again, we will face forward to the future. As the CEO of VMworld, this is now my 5th VMworld, and it's always a thrill and energy to be here with you in Barcelona. And what a great show we have for you this week. New products, new announcements, new technologies. And thank you once again for joining us. Personally, I'm delighted, right? My foot is healed. For those of you who know, the last time I was in a boot yet and, getting back to health. So, I'm not allowed to jog on stage yet, but getting there. And with all the energy, excitement we have, this is going to be a great time together for us at VMworld Barcelona 2016. Digital transformation. The buzzword. And, as we think about our industry, we're given to buzzwords all the time, right? New technologies, and we have the hype and, the new economy and e-biz and Web 2.0. And right now, the buzzword is digital transformation. And this is the Google Trends on that word, a hot term. And when we think about digital transformation, often it's framed that you can either have traditional business or you can have digital business. And you can be part of the cool new stuff in the digital business, or you can be part of the old clunky traditional business. And to that we say nonsense. We view that every business needs to be digital business. There's no longer is a meaningful distinction. In every industry, core business processes are being driven by the cloud, by mobility, by digitization. Partners and customers want to engage in this new way of doing business, and any distinction between digital and traditional is meaningless. In our view, the real question is, what's your strategy to win in an all-digital world? And as we think about this topic of digitization and digital transformation, lots of talk, and is it real? And the answer to us is very much, yes, it is. And let's just 2 customer examples just to start our discussion. GE, General Electric, started in 1896. 12 companies were part of the initial Dow Jones Industrial Index. Only one of them survives today. General Electric. And with that, they're still innovating at a furious pace in their embrace of the cloud, launching Predix, their strategy of applying analytics to every aspect of their engines, their machines, their large equipment they're building. They're digitally transforming what it means to be the premier industrial company of our age. Another company here in Europe, Leonardo, founded coming out of World War II in 1948 in Italy, a world leader in aerospace, defense, and security, from helicopters to aeronautics, for speed and scale and competitive demands globally. They launched a transformation initiative in 2014, and it was all business units and all aspects becoming software-defined and IT-driven. A huge VMware partner and customer, as they're seeing our platform as essential to enabling their digital transformation and embracing security and NSX and mobility, all of the things that we do to transform not just IT, but the entire company. And these are good examples of leaders, of companies with established businesses and technologies, but according to IDC, 80% of companies are laggards. 80% of companies today are not yet leading in their digital transformation, and they're not engaging their customers in these new powerful ways with these new tools. And we looked at what's the difference between those leaders and the laggards. And we found that there's really two fundamental differences, one culture and the other technology. Leaders are rewriting the rules. They're defining new categories in competitive terms versus optimizing the predictable supply chains and processes of business today. Also, a fundamental different view of technology, embracing mobile cloud at the core versus further optimization and reliance on traditional IT. And this combination of technology and culture we see as the defining elements of those companies that are becoming digital leaders for the future. We think this period of time that we're in is very profound. Since the Industrial Revolution began in the 1700s and in England, everything has been about optimization. Optimization of the supply chain, of the delivery of resources, of the manufacturing, of the distribution systems. But today, we believe what we're doing in digital business is just as transformative, just as significant, and as long-lasting as the Industrial Revolution hundreds of years ago. And bringing together industrial companies like GE with digital business is showing that these are building on each other to define the businesses of the future. This is the foundation of digital business. Let's go back in time to 2006. And in the year 2006, we think several very important things happened. One is Pluto lost its status as a planet. I, as an engineer and technologist, I still haven't quite gotten over that, right? In my lifetime, we lost the planet. How many of you are Italians? You won the World Cup that year. Okay, I heard Italians are a little bit more excited than that. The Italians, World Cup 2006, yeah, come on. Let's try that again. Italians, 2006. Well, I don't know. Italians, you better live it up a little bit. But also, it was the year that AWS was launched, and it's the first time that the term cloud computing was used in a mainstream way, right? And it was, in fact, Eric Schmidt, who I've known for years from his days at Sun. He stepped on stage at a search engine conference, and he described Google's core vision and approach as cloud computing. And let's hear from Eric right now and his description of cloud computing.
I don't think people have really understood how big this opportunity really is. It starts with the premise that the data services and architecture should be on servers. We call it cloud computing. They should be in a cloud somewhere.
That idea of cloud computing, 2006. So let's take a look at what's happened to the state of the cloud, going first back to 2006 to today and predicting into the future. So I asked my crack market research team, right, there's dissonance all over the place. How big is cloud? Give me some, there's lots of different ways of slicing it. So today, the definitive view from my crack research team of the cloud. And in 2006, 98% of workloads were run on traditional IT. Some of that might have been virtualized, but still the processes were manual, it wasn't automated. And that 2% that you see there, much of it is credited to Salesforce.com. Mark Benioff launched Salesforce just a little bit after VMware was launched in February of '99, and really was the first sort of SaaS model in the industry and really creating this idea of cloud consumption of software. So 2006, nothing cloud. Let's fast forward 5 years. 2011, we're now up to 13% for the cloud, an annual growth rate, rapid expansion of workloads to 80 million workloads, and the cloud is now up to 12, 13% of the industry. And this idea of the private cloud, and when we say private cloud, we don't mean just a virtualized environment, we mean one that's automated in provision, operations, and self-service, so a real cloud experience. So private cloud, public cloud, sort of neck and neck, and this private cloud is largely driven by you. This is your contribution. How do we make our IT environment more efficient? Now, but the vast majority of workloads still managed manually. So let's fast forward 5 years to today, and where are we? Today, we have now 15% in the public cloud and about 12% in private clouds. 160 million workloads. We continue to see double-digit expansion in the total workloads and big growth in both private and in public. Now, I asked my research team, if this is the data of today, when does cloud, public and private, equal 50%? And I'm a data kind of guy, so give me a prediction of when it is, and they came back with 50% will happen in 2021. I says, well, give me more precision on that. And they said June 29th of 2021. I said, well, give me a little bit more precision than that. So it's at 15:57 p.m. Central Time, or European time, when it will hit 50%. You got it? Right, very specific. So that's what my research team says. We hit 50-50 of private and public cloud at that point in time. Now let's go forward 5 years. And 2021, 50%. But if we look at public cloud, and if we dig into that a little bit more carefully, what you see is it's about 50-50 between SaaS and IaaS. And both are smaller than the public cloud at 20%. We still see an environment where IaaS, right, is a significant, rapidly growing piece, but even in 2021, is still smaller than the public cloud. So I said, when do we hit 50% public cloud? And the answer is 2030. So excluding private cloud, we hit 50% public cloud in 2030. And again, it's about half SaaS and about half IaaS. So we have a 14-year journey in front of us until we hit 50-50, a long way to go. And as you'll hear us talk about a little bit later, the idea of the hybrid cloud, of the operation of public and private together, a long way to go. And we have decades in front of us where we will continue to see this hybrid world. Now, as this whole pie continues to grow and workloads expanding to almost 600 million workloads by 2030, we also see other key changes happening. The hosting market today, people running on somebody else's data center, about 54 billion euros today, continues to grow at a faster rate than the industry and workloads do overall. 2021, 100 billion. And this is a huge opportunity, and a lot of this is being served by our vCloud Air network partners, as customers are looking not just for hosting services, but for richer services in that market, a hybrid cloud hosting capability. Also asked them to look at the devices, what's being connected to those cloud environments and to the network. And clearly all of us are part of this problem, our iPhones and iPads and all of our mobile devices getting connected, and we've seen rapid growth to it, and that growth is starting to flatten. Largely a replacement market now. We're not yet evenly distributed in Africa, South America. Many of the emerging markets are not yet well connected. But more interesting is what happens in the IoT market. And today it's about half of the devices connected to the internet are machines as opposed to people-connected devices. And we've talked about IoT and a lot of hype about it for the last 5+ years, but we believe in the next 5 years it now is really taking off. And we see by the 5 years from now, by 2021, we have twice as many machine-connected to human-connected devices on the internet. And that crossover is Q1 of 2019, when we expect that machine-connected devices to the internet become the dominant way that things are connected to the net. A huge opportunity for us collectively. Now, some researchers have suggested that the efficiency scale of the cloud will lead to a decrease in the overall IT budget. I firmly disagree. We believe that a cloud that makes IT more accessible, more efficient, more operational, becomes a force to expand IT. I was the architect and became the design manager of the 486. And I remember the 486 was almost 3 times faster than the 386 at the time. And some of our crack market researchers at the time said it's going to decrease the size of the microprocessor market because you can replace so many of the chips. What do you think? Did the market for microprocessors get bigger or smaller? Right? Because it's like the gas law. The more accessible we make computing and IT, it makes it more broadly used and available and more impactful to businesses overall. And it's not just that IT is expanding as the gas law does, IT is also leaving the nest of IT. And cloud-powered IT is touching every aspect of business, every aspect of life. Some of this has been described as sort of shadow IT. Some people, lurking around in the marketing department and, doing their IT things without the IT guys going on. And what you're seeing is clearly this has been well documented for things like marketing analytics and being able to do sentiment and so on in the marketing department. Looking forward, though, this is the case in every department. And some research that we've done with The Economist says every function in the enterprise is following suit, that they too are becoming IT departments in manufacturing, product, finance. And this is great news for you all. Your skills as an IT professional are now in demand by every function inside of the business. Everyone is looking for the skills that you've mastered, and every part of the business needs the capabilities that we have built and operated. With The Economist, we also said, what does the typical business look like over this period of time? And what is the manifest itself inside of a typical enterprise? And some of these results were fairly surprising. How many of the following assets do you need to manage today? And this was frightening. 8 clouds, 175 SaaS applications, 8 different security applications. As you think about this, this is a picture of complexity, where our traditional manual approaches to IT simply will not scale to meet these demands. And one of the questions that we asked in the survey that I particularly liked was, who is responsible, right, for the operation of those environments and the security of those environments? So, and they said, together, 90% says IT is responsible. So in a world where you didn't write the application, you no longer control the data center the app is running on, nor the networks that are delivering it, nor the devices it's being delivered on. In the world where you control nothing, you're in charge. How do you feel? That's the life of IT. We're in charge, we're responsible in a rapidly changing and complex world. And this points to one of the age-old dilemmas, freedom versus control. Now, how many of you are parents? Okay, how many of you are parents? Okay, how many of you have teenage kids? Okay, what do you want as a parent? Control. What do your teenage kids want? Freedom. Right? And this age-old conflict that occurs, right, in mankind over and over again. We want control, right? Other forces want freedom. And in the period of massive change like we're going through in the IT industry, like a teenage years, this tension is heightened. Your users want freedom to choose any cloud, different services, different operation, and you are responsible for control, for the reputation, for the reliability and the security. Freedom versus control. In a hybrid world, it's about giving freedom and control. How can we combine the forces of freedom and control and deliver the tools that allow you to take advantage of both? And this is what we'll call simply the hybrid cloud, this world of private and public, where by definition it's a hybrid environment for decades to come, as the data shows. And in this ecosystem, we've been leading the way in building and understanding the hybrid cloud. And this begins, of course, with the software-defined data center. How can we start this fundamental revolution of moving from hardware to software? This is what we did in compute, and this is what we began on a journey almost exactly 5 years ago with the software-defined data center. And in fact, just like Eric Schmidt predicted the cloud, our own Raghu Raghuram predicted the software-defined data center 5 years ago at VMworld Europe 2011 in Copenhagen. And let's hear from Raghu now as he described this vision.
It's moving from that kind of a specialized hardware world to a world of standardized hardware blocks, where increasingly all the infrastructure functions that we know of will be developed and deployed in software. And even more importantly, the control of this data center is entirely done by software. The data center is on its way to becoming programmable and automated. So we call this the software-driven data center.
And in almost prophetic terms, Raghu described the software-defined data center. And that began a journey for VMware to build all the components to move past compute, to networking, to storage, to management and automation, to deliver this software-defined data center. Today, I'm delighted to introduce vSphere 6.5, the latest of our core franchise products that all of you are users of. And with vSphere 6.5, over 100 new features are part of this, but 3 particular areas. A simplified customer experience, with the simplified architecture, modern APIs and interface. Secondly, comprehensive and built-in security data, the infrastructure, and the access to the management environments. And finally, the universal application platform, making this a platform for both traditional and next-gen apps, for scale-up as well as scale-out application. With today's launch of 6.5, we are delivering the next release of our core franchise capability that you all have come to know and to love. Now, as we're introducing this, what we also did was we took a step back and we said, boy, we have changed not just the world of computing, but also created enormous impacts in other areas as well, including environmental impact. And together, with the deployment of virtualization, you have saved 603 million megawatt hours of power consumption over the life of the vSphere product family. 603 million. A stunning number, A net positive impact to the world and the environment that we're in. In fact, with the VMware solution, your actions have delivered enough power savings, to power all of Spain, Germany, and Switzerland for a year. This is moving the needles. This is the equivalent of 100 million cars that are off the road for a full year. The collective impact. And from an environmental standpoint, virtualization is the only way to run your IT infrastructure. It's not just good business, it's an environmental imperative. And all of you have shown the way. So, yeah, absolutely. It's not just compute management. And here at VMworld, we're announcing key new upgrades to the management suite of VMware, the #1 cloud management by a wide margin according to every analyst in the industry. Continuing to innovate in the area of NSX, and NSX since 2013 has become this platform that enables that same revolution in compute in the area of networking and all the services that operate inside of it, and in storage. And we are also at VMworld Europe announcing vSAN 6.5 with key improvements in TCO, new improvements in power CLI and UI interfaces. And you'll hear more about this with Yangbin Li, our SVP of storage. Now, these components taken together, compute, network, storage, management, and automation, is the SDDC. But let's not just take our word for it. Let's hear from a few customers who are taking full and complete advantage of these revolutionary capabilities. If we could play the video now.
For these innovative companies, successful digital transformation depends on employing the software-defined data center.
Ladbrokes is one of the largest betting and gaming companies in the world. There were two drivers for us to implement software-defined data center. The first one was to automate completely the provisioning process of infrastructure. The integration of VMware stacks was quick and easy. vSphere, NSX, vRise automation. The second one is by creating an abstraction layer between the application and the hardware. We can run this infrastructure on-premise or on the cloud.
Coop is the biggest online supermarket in Denmark. The total cost of our IT systems is very important because we are operating in a very low margin market. vSAN is both able to provide a very high performance and a very low cost of ownership. Rather than put money into maintaining the old platform, we would simply start buying servers, put vSAN on them, and power them up.
The WorldPay is a global payments business to 400,000 customers worldwide. Software defined is at the heart of our data center.
Using VMware's technology enabled us to have a real jump start in terms of getting to the consistent software defined nature of automation without having to re-architect and re-engineer everything that we've done.
Innovation's at the heart of WorldPay, and the software defined environment is a real enabler to innovation.
These and many other customers, yes. Yeah, these and many other customers and many of you taking full advantage of that software-defined data center to transform your private cloud. But we didn't stop there. We said we have to move to enable that experience and increasingly able to use consumption models in another data center. And we set the standard for hybrid computing as well, with vCloud Air innovating new capabilities and focused applications in data center extension, consolidation, and DR. And in fact, we're announcing this week new services as part of our vCloud Air. And we also use that as a launch point for our 4,200 vCloud Air network partners, developing, curating the services and the intellectual property to enable all of those partners as well. Tremendous innovation across this ecosystem. But we're not stopping there. We recognize that we have to make it easier to enable the next set of industry challenges. And the complexity that we've already said is accelerating, and the time has come to accelerate our hybrid cloud strategy as well. And with that, I'm very pleased to introduce and announce our cross-cloud architecture. And cross-cloud enables you to run, manage, connect, and secure your applications across any cloud and any device, and using a common operating environment across this end-to-end experience. With cross-cloud architecture at its core, it's about providing freedom and control. And if I go back to my analogy before, it's like having a teenager that you both love and like at the same time. And for those of you who are parents, you know what that means. The cross-cloud architecture is really composed of two capabilities. One that we're announcing is our VMware Cloud Foundation, a fully integrated SDDC platform that combines together compute network storage management and lifecycle management, as well as new VMware cross-cloud services And we're going to double click on both of these here. Let's start by looking more closely at the VMware Cloud Foundation. And VMware Cloud Foundation is really about now bringing together those components into a single unified offering, a fully integrated offering that includes automated lifecycle management that makes it easy to build and run your private cloud. Making private clouds easier. They've just been too hard in the past. VMware Cloud Foundation makes it easier, and we're thrilled to bring forward VMware Cloud Foundation. But it's also a platform for enabling hybrid cloud and public cloud environments as well. And we expect a broad adoption of that full power of the VMware Cloud Foundation, our management tools, enabling a broad ecosystem of our vCloud Air network partners to accelerate their ability to present a hybrid cloud environment. And we were very thrilled at VMworld in the US to announce our landmark partnership with IBM. IBM is building and offering the full VMware Cloud Foundation as part of the IBM SoftLayer Cloud. And we expect to have many others of our vCloud Air network partners taking advantage of this service to enable and accelerate their customers to the full hybrid cloud experience. And last week, we made a very exciting announcement about a partnership with Amazon Web Services. We've announced VMware Cloud on AWS, a new hybrid cloud service, enabling you to get the full SDDC on the public cloud of AWS. Simply put, the best of both worlds. The leader in private cloud coming together with the leader in public cloud. As a result of months of engineering and creating a new capability, we're delighted to bring together the announcement of the best of both worlds, VMware Cloud on AWS. And to help me talk about that, it's my pleasure today to invite Mike Clayville, the VP of Sales and Business Development for Amazon, to the stage. Please join me in welcoming Mike.
Pat, it's great to be here. Very excited to be here.
And Mike, it's a special thing to have Mike here on stage. Mike was a VMware guy for many years, and it's
many years.
We've brought you now back to the family, Mike.
I'm delighted to be back and part of the family.
Back to be having you working for me again. So.
Exactly, absolutely. Very exciting.
So, Mike, tell us a little bit about the reaction to the VMware and Amazon, and what's the value of the partnership?
Sure. Well, I got to tell you, everywhere I go, I hear from customers. They're just delighted by this partnership. Two of Earth's most innovative companies coming together to create another level of innovation for our customers. Think about it. VMware, the leader in on-prem private cloud platforms, coming together with AWS, the leader in public cloud platforms, creating a deeply integrated, really complete hybrid architecture that not only, as you mentioned, extends the VMware platform out into the AWS cloud, out in the public cloud, but also opens up the public cloud, the 70 services that we have, the rich set of services that we have, as well as the 38 availability zones around the world to that VMware architecture. It's a very exciting time. Now, even more exciting is the potential for our partners in all of this.
Many of those represented here as well.
We're very excited. Every partner I talk to looks at this as a whole new revenue engine for them and a very exciting solution for their customers.
Yeah, we're excited about that aspect of it as well. As you can tell, Mike's just a little bit excited about this, right?
I am very excited about this.
What about some of the use cases, Mike, that we see for these hybrid services that we're building?
Well, so as I talk to customers, they really come down into kind of three categories of use cases, right? Almost all the customers I talk to, again, say, gosh, I wish that these things would work better together, right? Can we extend and integrate the AWS and the VMware platforms more richly? So we see that as a great use case right out of the box. And the second use case we see is, I hardly run across a company that wants to build another data center. So most of my customers are saying, gosh, can you help me avoid capital expense? And so it's a great way for customers that are looking to get out of data centers to be able to to envision that through this partnership. And the third thing I would say is, there's a lot of customers out there that have workloads that would benefit from bursting into the cloud, right? And so across the world, as I talk to customers, they say, gosh, is there a way that I can take my current configuration, burst out in the cloud as I need it?
Well, you've talked a lot about different customers and some of the customers you've talked to. Maybe you can give some view of those customers, some of the verticals, and their perspectives in the partnership.
Yeah, what I'm finding is that this is truly a horizontal solution. All right. Just about every customer finds that this is going to be a valuable offering to them. A couple that I think are going to be early movers in this. I think we're going to find a lot of great success in the public sector. I think they're going to find it useful to be able to save on some of those capital expense charges. Other interesting areas, I think we're going to see oil and gas. They currently are going
they have a lot of
challenges.
bursty workloads.
They got a lot of bursty workloads. We're going to see them move very quickly. Financial services customers have already started telling me they're very excited about this offering. And I think we're going to find a lot of great success in healthcare as well.
And those customers in Europe as well as worldwide?
So I'm finding both in Europe and worldwide, all are saying pretty much the same thing. Give me this really differentiated hybrid architecture.
Okay. Well, and speaking of healthcare as a vertical segment, we have a testimonial from one of them. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to Mike Clayville, back in the family.
Thank you.
And
it's a delight to be here. Great.
Let's hear now from a leader in healthcare and the pharmaceutical industry, Clark Golestani, CIO and EVP at Merck. If we could play the video now.
At Merck, we have over 68,000 employees, and we operate all over the world in over 140 countries. When I think about AWS and VMware, VMware has always been strategic to Merck and is in the core of our data center. And then as we think to the future in the cloud with AWS, seeing two strategic partners for us come together and really allow us to bridge to the future is critically important for us, and we're very supportive. So at Merck, and really across the pharmaceutical industry, it really is not what's in-house. It's really an ecosystem of partners when we think about what fuels research, what we think about the health system and how things come together. Having this environment where we're able to spin up into the cloud to support all of our partners, all of our customers, will be critical going forward. And I see this partnership as really making that a seamless experience. And all of our innovation, all of our operations, and all of our coupling is really to drive that business which saves and improves lives. So when we think about IT and our need to really drive operations at a global scale, coupled with our need to really leverage technologies, advanced technologies, test them quickly, it requires a pretty agile environment where we're able to operate at scale, yet spin it up and spin it down quickly to enable those innovations. When I think about this partnership, it allows me to really operate that hybrid environment in a way that's far more seamless and far more cost effective. And this partnership really allows us to get that agility while really leveraging our existing knowledge and tools that I think is very compelling.
A great perspective from Merck, and Merck, globally respected brand, and how they're going to take advantage of both of these coming together. So we've heard from Mike about his strategic view, right? We've heard from Merck, a customer perspective, but what do you think? Should we show you a demonstration of VMware Cloud on AWS? And to help me do that now, it's my pleasure to invite Mark Lohmeyer to the stage, VP of Products, and the guy who's been spearheading the product definition. Mark?
Morning.
Very good. Very good. So, Mark, we're excited about this. You've heard from, Mike. We've heard from Merck on this. So, can we demonstrate this?
Absolutely. So, we're really excited to share with all of you what we've been building together with Amazon. And to get started, let me frame up what we're going to be showing in the demo today. So, first, what we're going to be showing is how simple and fast it is to create an entire VMware environment on AWS. Second, we're going to be showing how that brings all the powerful capabilities of the VMware portfolio to the AWS cloud. And then in conjunction with linking it to our customers' existing on-prem environment, we can create a whole new powerful set of hybrid use cases. And then finally, we're going to be discussing how our customers can seamlessly link all the rich portfolio of AWS services into their applications that are running in the VMware cloud, truly creating a hybrid cloud environment.
Okay, so the full SDDC, network, compute, storage, all of those coming together in the AWS cloud.
Absolutely.
Okay, show us.
All right, so let's go to the demo. So just like any other cloud service, we've made it really simple to get started. What we're showing here is the landing page for the service. And let's click on Create a VMware Cloud to get going.
Okay. And this is all of the availability zones that Mike was talking about.
These are all the regions, all the availability zones around the world. AWS obviously has a tremendous global footprint.
Okay, good. And this service is going to operate globally.
Absolutely.
Right, as well, so taking advantage of all of these footprints. And we're in Europe, so can we start in Europe?
We're in Europe, so let's get started by selecting Ireland. Seems like a good place to get going here. Great. So the next thing we need to do is select how much resources we want to make available in Ireland. And of course, we have a lot of choice and flexibility here, but to keep it simple, let's get started with one of the recommended t-shirt sizes of a 4-host cluster.
Okay, you're a nice slim guy, so we'll start with small.
Thanks,
okay,
Pat. Thanks, Pat. By the way, we do have the ability to grow seamlessly over time.
Okay,
so
okay.
It's all good. So next, we need to determine how we want to consume and pay for this service. And again, just like any other cloud service, we have a lot of choice here. We can consume it on demand, hourly, or we can select a 1 or a 3-year reserve.
I like 3. I like big customer commitment,
Yeah,
so.
3 is always good, but in this case, I'm not sure how long I want this to use this environment for, so I'll get started with hourly. And of course, I only have to pay for what I consume as I go.
Okay.
All right, so great. And then the next thing we need to do is determine how do we want to pay for it. And again, it's very easy, obviously, to get started with a credit card. But one of the really powerful things about the VMware Cloud and AWS service is that because it's a VMware delivered, sold, and supported service, our customers can take advantage of their existing commercial relationships with VMware or with one of our certified partners to access this service.
Well, that's convenient as well. So.
Yep, so let's select that since we're connected to my VMware account here.
Okay.
And let's go next. Great, so here you can see a quick summary of what we've selected. Pretty straightforward, looks good to me.
Okay,
looks good, so let's create. Great. So what you're seeing now is here we're getting spun up.
Okay. Now what's going on here behind this hourglass? What's actually happening here?
Yeah. Good question. So let's go back to the slides. So as you mentioned before, what we're doing here is we're spinning up the entire VMware SDDC stack. So vSphere, vSAN, and NSX on dedicated AWS infrastructure. But not only dedicated AWS infrastructure, but really a next-generation purpose-built offering for this solution.
Now, so a bare metal purpose, but that's going to be available globally?
It will be available globally.
Okay, so across the full AWS footprint.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's what they refer to as an elastic bare metal service.
Okay.
So ESXi runs natively on the bare metal hardware. This gives us all the great availability and performance of our solutions on their platform, and it's elastic, so it retains all the great elasticity of the AWS cloud.
Okay, good.
Excellent. So let's now go back to the demo. Great, and so as you can see, we've now spun up an entire VMware environment in Ireland, right? Literally just a few clicks, and we're ready to go with the complete VMware SDDC environment.
So what can you do with it? Now I got capacity, so show me.
So let's take a look. So click on, let's open vCenter. Great. So as you can see here, this is vCenter, as this crowd knows, tool of choice for hundreds of thousands of VMware customers around the world. On the left-hand panel, you can now see, if you click on the Ireland VMware cloud, and then we can see the environment that we just created. Now, if you go to the right, you can see, as we mentioned, that this is an entire VMware environment. So you can see ESXi, you can see vSAN storage, you can see NSX for networking and security, and of course, all the powerful enterprise capabilities of those products, things like microsegmentation, things like vSAN flash storage. And because it's a service, of course, we're making sure that all of our latest innovations are always available here, and we're taking care of the hassles of doing things like patching and upgrades.
Okay. Can we use it now? We got capacity. Let's do something.
All right, so let's do something with it. So if you also notice on the left-hand side here, you can see a few environments that we previously spun up, one in Oregon and one in Virginia. Those are VMware cloud environments. And then at the top, you can see Denver. And Denver is our own on-prem private cloud.
Okay.
So what you're seeing here is a single logical view of this customer's private cloud in Denver, as well as their public cloud environments in Ireland, Oregon, and
So we've
Virginia.
linked these together.
We've linked these
so
together.
One consolidated view, several hundred VMs running there in Denver, so a nice, good private cloud.
Looks good, looks good. And this is really, Pat, what enables the hybrid use cases that we talked about before, right? This single view, I can manage these environments completely consistently. So now let's take a look at Denver, and let's show just one of those hybrid use cases. Let's see what we can do here, as you said. So let's go into Denver, and you can see there's a bunch of applications running here. Let's get started by going into this billing app, and we've decided that we want to migrate an ETL service within this billing app from our private cloud into the AWS cloud. So you click on this service, you can see all of the characteristics of that and all the policies we've set for that application.
Okay.
So you can see it's part of a few NSX microsegments. You can see we've got a storage policy set that it needs high IOPS per storage for the service. And now let's go ahead and let's move it.
Okay, and that's vMotion.
Of course,
right?
Of course.
Okay, how many of you use vMotion? Yeah, like everybody, yeah, so let's vMotion already.
All right, so let's see how vMotion works. So let's get going. So we're gonna click, let's move this thing. We'll go to the standard vMotion wizard. You can see where we want to move it to. So we're going to move it to our VMware cloud in Oregon, and we're going to move it to a cluster there.
Okay.
And now we're just going to go through the wizard. We'll select that we want to maintain the storage policies. We want to maintain the network and security policies.
Okay, so all that's coming with?
All that's coming with it. And looks good. So let's finish. Great, and now you see it's moving. At the bottom of the screen there.
So, and the service is still active. vMotion, right, continues to be seamless availability.
All the great things about vMotion have now been applied to this environment. So the end user are actually able to continue to access this service while we're moving it. No application replatforming, not a single line of code needed to be written. And of course, all those policies that we talked about before are maintained now on the AWS cloud.
Okay, this is cool. This is good, Mark. But anything else?
Cool. So let's go back to the slide for 1 sec.
Okay.
So just quickly how we made this possible is what we did is we leveraged the Direct Connect technology from AWS to link the customer's on-prem environment with their VMware cloud on AWS. And then we linked the two vCenters across that environment, as well as leveraged NSX to seamlessly extend the network. And that's really what made that hybrid use case we showed there, made that possible.
Okay, so show me more.
Great. So what we've showed so far really is all the existing capabilities of VMware are now available on the AWS cloud. But we can actually even do more than that. Because our software is now running on an elastic infrastructure, we can begin to do things that were never before possible. So let's show an example of that. So here we're showing DRS, Distributed Resource Scheduling.
Mm-hmm. Another meat and potatoes kind of VMware service. How many of you are DRS users? Yeah, lots of people. I mean, this is something that everybody is taking advantage of.
Yeah, everyone's very familiar with this. What it does is balances workloads across a cluster to ensure great application performance while optimizing the utilization of the underlying physical resources. But what happens if we continue to load that cluster up? At some point, we run out of capacity. Right? So let's go back to the demo. So what you can see here is a DRS cluster on the VMware cloud on AWS. You can see this cluster is overloaded. We have a little warning there. It says we're out of capacity.
Okay.
So what we're going to do now is turn on a new capability, a technical preview of a new capability we're showing called Elastic DRS. That is enhancing DRS to take advantage of the fact that the AWS infrastructure underneath is elastic. So we're going to turn that on. And if you look closely, you'll see this kicking into action. On the left-hand side, you'll see the number of nodes in that cluster is going to increase, should increase from 6 to 7. There it went. So we just increased the size of that cluster. At the bottom, DRS is taking over, and it's rebalancing those workloads across that larger cluster. And now in the upper right, you can see that cluster is now going from imbalanced to balanced.
So essentially, AWS has become essentially almost infinite pool of resources that we can DRS across.
Absolutely. So we can expand it, we can contract it as needed.
Wow, that is impressive. And we're back to perform.
All right. Great.
They like it.
All right. So one last thing. Let's go back to the slides.
Okay.
So the last thing we've heard from our joint customers is the other thing they really want to be able to do is take advantage of the rich portfolio of the AWS services in conjunction with their applications that are running in this VMware cloud environment. And so what we've done is we've made it very easy to connect those services together very seamlessly from a customer perspective. So you can imagine the example we showed. We could connect that ETL service to Glacier for long-term storage. We could connect it to AWS Redshift to do some advanced data warehousing on top. All of the AWS capabilities are now available natively in that VMware cloud environment, truly enabling a whole new set of hybrid cloud use cases.
Wow, this is impressive, Mark. So the full SDDC stack extended, new innovations like Elastic DRS, access to the full suite of AWS services as well. How impressive could that be? But one last question before I let you go.
Yes.
When's it available?
So it will be available in mid-2017. Initial GA is mid-2017, so we're really looking forward to that.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you,
Great job. So as we've described, right, the leader in private cloud coming together with the leader in public cloud, partnering to deliver the vSphere-based service running on the AWS cloud, VMware Cloud on AWS. And I invite you to some of the technical drill downs that we have this week to learn more about the demo that you just saw. So what I'd like to do now is switch gears and come back and talk about that second big component within our cross-cloud architecture. So we just drilled into VMware Cloud Foundation. Now let's go drill into the VMware cross-cloud services. And the idea of these cross-cloud services is a new set of SaaS-based offerings that enable you to manage, govern, and secure applications that are running in the private, but also in any public cloud, including Amazon and Azure. And several dimensions of these cross-cloud services, visibility into cloud costs and usage, to consistent networking and security across them, automation of deployment, management, migration of apps and data. And this is across both vSphere and non-vSphere-based cloud environments. And to enable you to dig more into this, it's my pleasure to invite Guido Appenzeller, the CTO of our Networking Security Business Unit, to give you a deeper dive into the cross-cloud architecture. Please join me in welcoming Guido Appenzeller. Oh,
there you go.
I thought you were over there. Guido, thank you very much.
Thanks, Pat.
He's always sneaking up on me. Take it away.
That's me. Well, good morning. It's great to be back on stage here in Barcelona. So I'm really excited about the demo that you just saw from Mark, because it means you now have a choice. If you want to run vSphere or an SDDC, you can do it on your own hardware, in your own data center, or together with one of our partners, like Amazon or IBM or our vCAN partners, you can run it on hardware in the cloud. You don't have to manage any hardware at all anymore. All powered by VMware Cloud Foundation. I think it's a great product. So over the past year, I've had conversations with about 100 customers on how they use the cloud. In fact, several of you are in the audience here today. And there was one message that came back very, very clearly, and that is that everything we've shown you so far in itself is not enough. And it's not enough because many of you have started to use the clouds natively. And this word native here makes a really big difference. So if you're, for example, building on Amazon in a native way, you're no longer using vSphere UI or APIs to provision workloads, but now you're doing it the Amazon way. So for example, instead of vSphere, you're using EC2, or instead of vSAN, you're using Elastic Block Storage. There's also many services which you have on-premises that are not available in the cloud. If you want to use something like high availability or live migration, or like the highly flexible IP addressing, you can no longer do that. But on the other hand, you have services like S3, for which there's typically no on-prem equivalent. So using clouds natively is different. And if you would go back to your developers and tell them, stop doing all of that, move everything back to vSphere, would not only be very unpopular, I would argue it would be a bad choice for business. Because for certain applications, these native clouds, they actually have real advantages, and we should use them. So what does it mean as an IT department to manage as we move to public clouds? you can see this narrative in the press these days that in the age of cloud, the IT department is no longer needed. You know, the CIO is dead, long live the chief development officer. I can tell you one thing, this idea is completely crazy. I mean, think about it. If you take an application and you move it from on-premises to the cloud, do you still have to worry about security? Do you still have to worry about compliance? What happens if this application ages? Does there still have to be legacy support from the IT team? And last but not least, as you start spending millions on these public clouds, does somebody need to do central cost management and negotiate contracts? So the IT department is needed more than ever. But how we do IT changes in the age of cloud. So about 18 months ago, I had a conversation here in Europe. I was talking, in fact, to Daimler. And back then, I thought moving to the cloud, everything would become easy. And talking to them became clear very, very quickly to me that there's a lot of complexity here. And I'm very happy to say that they've kindly agreed to speak here today at VMworld. Please welcome on stage one of the pioneers of the public cloud, Holger Fahner from Daimler. Hi, Guido. Great to be here. Holger, thanks for making it. I really appreciate it. I can still recall about 18 months ago, I was in Stuttgart, and we were talking about public clouds. And my thinking was like, well, once you're in the public cloud, everything becomes easy, and then you no longer have to worry about IT and management. And back then, I think you were in 3 clouds already, and going into more. And I think it really gave you an idea of the complexities associated with that. So let me kick this off by asking you, how many and which clouds are you in today?
Okay, thank you, Guido. You're absolutely right. At Daimler, we concerned ourselves at a fairly early stage in the cloud topic, which led us to the development of what we called our own cloud enablement program. The objective was to support and to advise our customers, our business units making their way to the cloud. So the scope ranged from infrastructure as a service to platform as a service and even to software as a service. But we quickly noticed that all of these public cloud providers had their individual strengths, of which we are greatly interested, of course. Yeah. And that's the reason why we are supporting several cloud providers today. But not all applications are really suitable for the cloud. And so we are also implementing our own private cloud through our data centers at Daimler. So the main concerns in that context are, for example, security and integration into backend systems.
So that's actually, I'm hearing a lot, right? I think the typical VMware customer at this point is in 3 or 4 clouds, plus an on-prem data center. So as you build these applications on the different clouds, how do you deal with the API differences? Every cloud has a different set of APIs. Are you afraid of creating silos where you no longer have mobility of teams?
You're absolutely right. That's correct. The different APIs are really an important issue that requires a very specific expertise. But what I think what is even more challenging is the fact that simple functionality is interpreted in various ways. So I give you an example. A load balancer or firewall are not the same in that the usage and the functionality often differs. That requires us to bring our technical blueprints to the lowest common denominator, or in worst case, even to create our own individual concept for that.
The lowest common denominator would be a very low common denominator, given the heterogeneity.
Definitely. Yeah. And even with the platform context, if I think about platform as a service, the question that often emerges address the possibility to migrate from one platform to the other. So let's say from a pivotal cloud frontier stack to a Microsoft Azure model, and these are really hot topics for our developers.
That makes sense. So Daimler is a very international company. I mean, I've seen your cars in almost every country I've traveled to. Does that create new challenges, or actually do public cloud make it easier to go international?
Actually, it creates additional challenges with regards to especially public clouds, internal support structures, or as well as fitting connection concepts. You know that every project in the public cloud can easily instantiate a VPN module and connect to the Daimler corporate network via VPN tunnel. But that solution does not scale, nor does it provide any sort of SLA like MPLS lines do.
Yeah. The tunnel sprawl. I've heard that from other customers
I think at that point, the cloud providers really do not comprehend the needed multi-client or multinational, multi-regional enterprise connections. Concepts like bring your own IP address or, for example, specific routing policies are only partially implemented when it comes to connection from public clouds to internal structures. Ideally, an application would communicate via a standardized API internally, but we are far from an idle state today.
That makes a lot of sense. So if I talk to customers, I would say that the number one concern probably around moving to the public cloud is around security and compliance. You know, can you comment on that? What are the big challenges there?
You're right. This is especially true for us. Our privacy laws are very strict in data protection.
Yeah. As a German company, right?
Yeah, but this is not just due to the European data protection regulation. We take these types of topics very seriously. For that reason, we integrated right from the beginning our corporate data protection department and our global information security department into our cloud enablement program, while questioning the criteria to define how and when data can enter the cloud.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense, right? Baking this in from the start as opposed to retrofitting it once you're up and running, I think is a great idea. So the last question, you know, I'm a CTO, but still, to me, it always seems easier to change technology than to change people, right? As you move to the cloud, what does it mean for your teams? Do you have to change training and organization?
You're absolutely right. And I think this is true for both worlds, the public and the private cloud. So the way of the public cloud moves from a very specific product or component knowledge and know-how to an overall infrastructure architect with application know-how, while in the private cloud area, skills are needed that are much more technical. So I think that the traditional silos that we have, networks, server and storage, are dissolving. Now, if you consider a complete software-defined data center with a high degree of automation, this requires rethinking and relearning. So in order to provide flexibility and simplicity for our applications and our developers, a really highly complex multi-layer stack has to be managed, and this stack has to be rock solid.
Super. Holger, I really appreciate it for you being here today. I think your thoughts really certainly influenced my thinking about the cloud, and I hope this helped the audience here as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Holger Fahner.
Thank you.
So talking to people like Holger really made me think, right? Why can't we as VMware help our customers, help you, as you migrate into the public cloud and help you manage across clouds? Right? The cloud is full of challenges, but at the end of the day, right, the same way how we as VMware today can migrate a workload from a Dell server to an IBM server to an HP server, or how NSX can span a network from a Cisco to an Arista to a Brocade switch. Why can't we do the same thing for the public cloud? Why can't we build a platform that allows you to manage across all the different public clouds natively? And it turns out we can. And that, in the essence, is cross-cloud services. It's a set of SaaS services that allows you to manage across all clouds, whether private or hosted SDDC or a native cloud. Now, I can show you a couple more slides on this technology, but I also have a demo, and I'm guessing here you want to see the demo. Let's roll the demo. The first bit of the demo I want to show is management and automation. Can we switch over? So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to take an existing service and onboard it, an existing application and onboard it to this service. So cross-cloud service is a SaaS application. There's no need to install anything. You simply go to the login page and log into the system. And you can see the login page here. We're going to log in. The first thing I need to do now is to provide credentials to this service. So I actually go out and discover what applications I've created in Amazon. And we're entering the credentials here. In this particular case, one of my developers, Zoe, she wrote a new application. And I want to see what she's been up to and whether that application fits into my enterprise and the policies that I have. So we enter the credentials. This looks good. Now, we can go to the, what happens in the background is that basically cross-cloud services connects, in this case, to Amazon, and siphons up all the information about this particular app. And here we have a dashboard view where we can see the applications that we have. So we're in multiple clouds already. We're clicking on Amazon. And you can see here in our US West data center, that's the new application from Zoe. We now see that we've discovered 28 VMs running in this data center. I can look at these VMs in more detail. I can search for them. So we're going to type in a search terms here, Zoe's account. So we only see her workloads running on Amazon. But actually, a more interesting view is to look at her instances by application. So I can see she has built 3 applications. She calls them dev, prototype, and production. Let's drill down on the production app. And I can see how there's the different workloads are structured in multiple tiers. I have a web tier, an app tier, and a database tier. So far, this all makes sense. So how much does it cost me if Zoe is running this application? And I can browse here to the cost view, where it tells me what's the cost that I've incurred so far. It can also project out how much I will incur in the future and allows me to compare the cost in different clouds. So this is all looking pretty good. Now let's look at the application in more detail from a network and security perspective. And for that, I'm going to use a different service, which we call Security Insight. So Security Insight allows us to see the connectivity and also which connections are possible in an application running on a public cloud. I'm going to search here for the VPC. That's the Amazon network that Zoe is using. And it shows me a diagram of the traffic that's flowing between the different parts of the application. So for example, I can see traffic is coming in from the internet. It's then flowing to the web tier. That makes sense. And from the web tier to the application tier. That's roughly what I would expect. Now let's take a look at the application tier here. I can see there's traffic from the application tier to the database tier. That makes sense. But there's also traffic coming directly from the internet to the application tier. So that's odd, and usually shouldn't happen, right? Now let's look at one more thing, which is the database tier. And as you can see here, there's also traffic coming directly from the internet to the database tier. Now that's bad. Let's have a closer look at those flows. So I can see connections from the internet going to the database. So at the very least, Zoe forgot to close some ports here. It's probably something I have to take a closer look at. That's not quite in compliance with the policy that we want to have. All right, so that was the first step of cross-cloud services. Can we switch back to the slides? We showed you how we can use them to discover applications, or to monitor them, to see how many instances are we using, what's the cost, and then to analyze the connectivity and see the network traffic. And in the process, we discovered some deficits which we'll have to account for. The second demo I want to show is networking and security. And can we switch back to the demo? So for this, I'm going to use another service. And you can think of this essentially as NSX as a service hosted in the cloud, but enabled to work with public clouds. So in NSX, there's an additional tab here that shows me all the cloud networks that we've discovered. In this case, here we're seeing VPCs on Amazon. One of them already has NSX deployed, but Zoe's production VPC, that's the second one here, so far has not been onboarded with NSX. So the first thing we're going to do is onboard this network with NSX. And before we do that, let's briefly switch over to the Amazon Management Console. Here we can see the different instances that are running on Amazon right now. Right? So going back to NSX, perfect. We're now going to say deploy. It's going to ask me if I want to use the existing IP space or if I want to use my own IP space. Both has advantages in certain scenarios. And then we can hit deploy to actually start the deployment process. So while this is spinning up, let's go back to the instance view. And what you can see here is, actually, let's refresh this. Perfect. You can see at the bottom that there's a gateway spinning up. This gateway is essentially the perimeter defense for this particular network on Amazon, right? That has our firewall that makes sure that no bad traffic can go in and out. It'll also manage some encryption functions, as we'll see in a second. So the network is spinning up. Let's go back to NSX. We had in the instance images an agent baked in. And as we onboard this network, this agent now connects to our control plane. So let's show the instances here. You can see right now, if we refresh, perfect. So the NSX Cloud Agent is now available on all of these different instances on Amazon. So from this moment on, we can manage all the networking for this particular application using NSX. And we have all the functionality that you know from NSX on-premises now also available for Amazon. So I've onboarded this network. Now let's secure it. The way we're going to do this is going to use our next generation policy editor. So you can see here we've predefined a number of policies. And for this particular app, I want to use my secure 3-tier web app policy. And we're going to click on this here. We're going to deploy it. Oh, actually, hold on. Before we deploy it, let's briefly switch over to a CLI because I want to show you something. Part of this policy is that we can encrypt traffic. Now, to show you that traffic is actually encrypted, we're going to run a little packet sniffer here, TCP dump. And if you look at the packet capture at the very top, you can see that the REST queries that go between the different tiers of this application are currently in the clear. So anybody breaking to this network can see them. Let's go back to NSX. We picked up policy. We're now going to deploy it. The policy is shown graphically here. So it's a policy for a 3-tier application. You see this little lock icon at the top? This means that all the traffic in this application is actually now encrypted. And we'll show you more about that in a second. There's also firewall rules. So we've closed off most ports. We're going with the system here strictly of least privilege. We're mapping these to the right VPCs, and then we're going to deploy the policy. So this is being deployed. So let's have a look, once it is deployed, if the deployment worked. We're going to start with the firewall rules. Perfect. So you can see here the firewall rules for this application. There's a few ports open, port 80, port 443, but most ports are closed with a deny rule. So this is good. We now have locked down this application very tightly. Will no longer be anyone from the internet just connecting to our app or database tier. Now let's have a look at the encryption part. So here's the policy that we specified for encryption. It's very simple. It simply says anything from an instance in this application to an instance in this application gets encrypted end-to-end inside the instance. So even if somebody, hypothetically, would hack into the Amazon network, they could no longer see our traffic. Right? Very simple, but very powerful. Now let's check if this encryption actually worked. Can we go back to our packet sniffer here? So we're going to run TCP dump again. And that won't work because we can't see the port anymore. Yep, here we go. So if you look at the text to the right here, you see that you can't see anything anymore, right? It's ciphertext now. You know, you cannot sniff the REST query anymore. So all the traffic is now encrypted. We showed you here how to do this within a particular application, but in the future you'll be able to do this across applications or between applications and on-premises, which avoids the management of many VPN tunnels, the problem that Holger talked about. Can we switch back to the slides? So I showed you how to do network virtualization, microsegmentation, and encryption for an app running natively on Amazon using NSX as a service. Great product. So I have a third demo for you, and that's about data and governance. And for this demo, we have we planning to build a new gadget. You know, the connected car is so 2015. So for this year, we want to go one step further, and we're building the connected unicycle. It's a smart unicycle. It constantly gathers data and uploads it to the cloud. So we actually haven't built the unicycle yet, but we started building the application. And here's what our developer built as the application. So it's, again, a simple 3-tier app. We have a web tier and an app tier. They collect the data from all our unicycles, and then it gets saved in a database for long-term storage. And currently, our developer put everything into the Amazon Ireland data center. Now, we want to sell this worldwide, at least in the United States and Europe. And thinking about this, this is probably not a very good way to host these instances, because if I'm sitting on the west coast of the United States, the latency to Ireland is going to be quite high. And so I'd rather have my data collection tier on the west coast, maybe another one on the east coast. And then for the database, I'm going to be a little conservative here, for data protection reasons. I'd actually like the database to run in my on-premises data center and not in the cloud. So what we're going to do with cross-cloud services is we're going to move around the different workloads for this application. We're going to take the web tier and the application tier, and we clone it into additional data centers in 2 different clouds, an AWS and an Amazon. And for the database, we're going to take it and we move it back to on-premises. So let's switch to the demo and see how this works. So I'm going to pick my migration service here. It's over there. And I'm going to start migrating workloads. And migrating a workload between clouds can be easy or hard. It depends a little bit on the workload. If it's small, you can just do it in one batch. It's pretty quick. But for example, for a database that is hundreds of megabytes, it's actually a fairly hard problem. Because of bandwidth, it will often take hours to transfer this database. And so what we're going to do here instead is that we're going to set up a continuous synchronization. So basically, we're going to have a little agent, and it's going to start replicating the instance to the cloud, right? To a different cloud or to our private cloud for our database server. And it'll basically do this continuously. It'll probably take hours before all this state is synchronized. But once it's synchronized, we can then, the next maintenance window, stop the old instance and start the new one. It's not quite live migration, but it's a very nice way of migrating workloads. And we're going to kick off these migration processes here. Doing all the migration actually takes a fair amount of time. So what we have done is we're going to kick them off here, but we have a second application prepared where we can show you the results of this, as we don't want to let you wait for a couple of hours. You can see here, this is still all the setup. We're specifying the subnets. We're specifying the target, where these instances are going. A lot of information here. And so here we got our first replication now up and running. So let's switch to the after view. So here we go. So we have a second application. It's called Bob's app clone. So this is the application after the migration. And if you look at it, it looks a little bit different. Right now, we have the database tier running in our private cloud, in our vSphere data center on premises. We still have an AWS Ireland, a web and an app tier, but now there's an additional one in Amazon, so a completely different cloud in the central US. If you scroll right, here we go. We have another copy of the web and the app tier on AWS in the eastern United States. So we've taken this application, we've distributed it, we've moved parts back on premises. Can we go back to the slides? So that was deployment and migration, the ability to move around instances and workloads between private clouds or multiple public clouds. Very simple, but a great feature. So that was a quick tech preview of VMware cross-cloud services, a set of SaaS services that allow you to manage across any type of cloud. It's kind of funny. In a sense, what we're doing here is exactly the same thing VMware has been doing for a long time. Today, we allow you to migrate, to network, to manage across heterogeneous hardware, compute hardware, storage hardware, networking hardware in your data center. Tomorrow, we want to do exactly the same thing across public clouds. And I think this is a great thing for you, because it means you can leverage your knowledge, your certification, your training with VMware and help both your organization to move up to the public cloud, as well as your own career. Whether you're running on a vSphere data center on premises, whether you're running on vSphere with one of our cloud partners like Amazon, or natively in any of the big public clouds, we want to be your friend as you move into the public cloud. And with that, I have one last customer that I'd like to show you. Please direct your attention to Chris Drumgoole from GE.
Digital industrial revolution. Call it the next wave. To stay on the crest, GE turns to the innovative VMware cross-cloud architecture.
When I look at where we're using VMware, it's definitely within our data centers. We use it for virtualization. We use it on the network side and how we start to virtualize networks across locations and out into the cloud. But specifically, we built an operating system called Predix, and it will become the de facto standard for what companies in the IoT space use to really optimize the way those assets run. It has some very special characteristics that require some very unique infrastructure requirements that VMware has been able to help us with. The first is this idea of a cross-cloud infrastructure. We're going to run Predix in some of the largest cloud providers in the world, and we've got places that it's got to also run in local data centers in more than 180 countries around the world. So VMware has really helped us figure that out, this cross-cloud componentry of being able to push and manage and think about it as one large component. The second part, though, is security, and really helping us understand how do you then secure the platform and the operating system in a way that the world's most important and critical assets are going to run the way we intend them to and be safe and secure. So when we are working on some of these tough problems about a hybrid cloud approach, VMware brings the right people to the table who really understand our problems. VMware has been inside GE since I've been inside GE, so this is coming up on my 16th year. We've been a longtime fan and a longtime customer.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Pat Gelsinger.
So what do you think? Guido, how did he do? Yeah, absolutely. Cloud freedom and control in action, being able to discover, network, secure, migrate, and manage. Very impressive, Guido. Thank you very much. And what we just saw was cross-cloud services in action. What we saw was the ability to run, manage, secure, and connect across these, the ability to govern and discover. And this is a picture of how we see those services coming together. With cross-cloud, we're defining the next wave of innovation. We're solving this next great industry challenge, really how the cloud can be taken advantage of in every context, how you can fully marshal that capability. With VMware Cloud Foundation, the fully integrated SDDC platform, making the private cloud easy, but also making it available as a service as well. With cross-cloud services, new SaaS-based offerings, as Guido demonstrated today. And we're making any cloud available for any application. For that, traditional applications, as well as new scale-out cloud-native applications. And you'll be hearing more about our Photon and VMware integrated container activities this week. And finally, delivering those solutions onto any device. And for that, as part of our VMware initiative, we're thrilled with the response we've seen from our Workspace ONE initiative, bringing together these two concepts, enterprise secure, what we do, right? We have to make things secure, robust, with high SLAs, but your users, your customers are expecting them to be consumer simple as well. And bringing these two together into an integrated, holistic offering is the essence of Workspace ONE. And we're thrilled to have Sanjay Poonen, our EVP, describe this to you tomorrow morning. We're also here sort of hosting a conference in a conference. And we have our AirWatch Connect here for the first time in Barcelona. And they'll kick off today at 11 a.m. in room 46, bringing together consumer simple and enterprise secure Workspace ONE. We've covered a lot this morning. We've covered this idea of the cross-cloud architecture, VMware Cloud Foundation, cross-cloud services, our foundational partnership with IBM, and today's description and demonstration of the Amazon partnership. Together, enabling freedom and control, giving you the tools to navigate through this period of change, making it like a teenager you both like and love at the same time. And you have clearly demonstrated that you have the passion, the innovation, the leadership to make this cross-cloud world happen. We thank you. We thank you in so many ways, and we're looking forward to a tremendous future together. Please enjoy your time at VMworld Barcelona 2016. Engage, learn, and enjoy the conference. Thank you very much.